Awesome. Thank you guys. For everybody here that I have not gotten to meet, I work for Oracle with our customer data platform and our behavioral intelligence. So super excited to be here with Brand Innovators and get a chance to talk to Jules today. So
Thank you. Excited to be here. The first question will be, can you play this piano?
not well, but I can try.
Turn it right around. Yeah. Let's see it. Okay.
We're going to find out if we run out of questions. So to kick it off, I know a lot of what we're talking about at this conference is the actual practice of marketing, but I thought it would be interesting to talk to you since you've got such a varied background. You've got agency experience, you've worked for large SaaS companies, now you're starting a role in TripAdvisor. I thought it would be really interesting to hear kind of the methodology of how you go about building a marketing team and what you put into that.
Yeah, thank you for the question, because I have done many different things. I think the big learning is, for me, is that whatever they taught me in business school was wrong. They taught me to start with the process and figure out how to structure a process and then layer on the people in the organization. And when I've tried that, sometimes it succeeds, but most often it fails. So when I was recently at IBM, our marketing team was spread across multiple general managers and business units. And we were architecting the marketing team of the future. And so we decided, a couple executives, we spent maybe like a week in a conference room architecting how does product marketing, content marketing, performance marketing work, how's it all stretched together, and what are the roles and who they report to. And then we rolled it out, and I championed consistency in the model and who reports to whom and how it works. Many of the general managers went along at first because they were team players, and but what you find is that different people and personalities that work better with. And I know you're not supposed to structure an organization around personalities, right? But when it is the general manager of a business, it is a good idea to figure out how to get a team that works well with the leaders of that business. So what I did over time is I said, this is so precious around that the content leader had to report directly to the CMO, directly into the GM. Maybe if we had a really strong performance leader, that person could also have the content person reporting to them. And then in other business units, there would be a strong product marketing leader who really understood storytelling. They didn't have to be experts in it, they just had to appreciate it and be willing to lead it. And so that was my learning, is that applying a framework to everything didn't work for me. I just switched jobs, and during that time in between, I was interviewing, and during the interview process, I kept getting the same question over and over again, which is, are you a brand marketer or a performance marketer? And almost like the world was black and white. And I started, and I hated that question, because I was like, if you want a marketing leader that can only do one of those things, you're hiring the wrong person. And it made me start to think then about org structure and the marketing teams that we're building. And are we building the marketing leaders of the future, or are we setting them up for failure because we're pigeonholing people into doing one thing really well? And so in my new job, and every job I go, I will try to constantly say, let's not try to make people be one thing. Let's try to think about throwing away the roles and trying to architect an organization that works. And because nothing's more important than people. And that even comes down to brands. Like, we're supposed to be for humans, but if we're really for humans and our person who's in analytics never met the human they're trying to analyze, it doesn't really work. And I've been on marketing teams where they just stare at profiles of people and think they know that person. And I think we need all of our marketers, all of our people, all of our the people who work for us, with us, and alongside of us, to really get to know different parts of the business, different parts of marketing, and everyone's got to fall in love with the customer.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I mean, to kind of piggyback off of that, I know I saw on your LinkedIn yesterday, this is the first time you're traveling in 2 years, so welcome back to the public. Woo! And starting a new role, I mean, hearing how you're talking about how important it is to have good people and get to know them and really start to build that story, how difficult has it been, creating teams, transferring into a new role, a new company, and learning that whole structure without actually meeting people and doing a lot of this digitally because of the pandemic?
It's really, really easy. No, so my last job was global, and I had a team spread out in 22 offices, and some of them over 5 years I maybe met once. So there was training in this moment, but no matter how well you're prepared for it, you're always going to have failures, and so for me, when I first went to IBM and I had this global team, I spent a lot of time analyzing and building this strategy, this vision, and decided on a keynote that I gave, I was going to roll it out. And I realized that connecting with the people was more important than building that trust and relationship. And I had to learn how to do what we all started to do during the pandemic, which was open calls with empathy and getting to connect with the people before you go into your agenda. But I had to kind of try new tactics. And one of the tactics I did was I realized that to inspire and educate my team around the world, I needed to be what I preached. And I was preaching make less matter more, and I was preaching be useful with people's time and edutainment. So I created a LinkedIn show called the Content Cantina. And the Content Cantina takes place in the future or a long time ago in a place far, far away, depending on if you're a Star Wars fan or not. But it's a place to talk about the future of content and brands and marketing. But I did it as a show, as a way to reach my audience, who were really IBMers around the world. But when I would do internal blogs and internal town halls, I would get 100 streams, maybe, live streams during a town hall. When I would, and that would be of the 700 people on my team, that'd be 1/7 of reach. And so I treated it like a marketing campaign. I had this audience. I need to win their hearts and minds, and I need to inspire them to go to be the best they can. And the Content Cantina was my way to have a talk about the future and inspire people what's great, but not do it in a boring interview style. Try to be useful, try to be entertaining, and try to be better than average.
Along that line, how important is it to have fun in your marketing practice and like to have fun with your team and do those types of things?
I remember, so I was in a meeting with other executives 3.5, 4 years ago, and the head of analytics at the time of this, I'm not going to say this particular group, said KPI is not fun is not a KPI. And I remember, and there was just this crickets around the rest of the executives, and I remember thinking, yeah, it is, yeah, because I love. There's this video on YouTube that I watched that inspired me because almost everything we do, when you're a leader, you get hired. They typically hire you to change something and lead something. Otherwise, they're not going to pay a lot of money to bring you on board. So people are going to do the thing they're changed when they're having fun doing it. And I remember watching this video on YouTube of people going up an escalator or people going up the stairs in a subway, and no one took the stairs. But then when they put a piano keyboard on the stairs, so as you walked up the stairs you made music, everyone started taking the stairs. And it burned calories, and it changed behavior. So I always think about then, we know the behavior, we know the change, which you have to be the change you want, so people call BS if you don't embody that. But then you have to make it fun for people to go to work. And so for me, I try to do it, and I think it's really important in this age, bringing people together at very specific moments, and having an agenda for why you're there, but also not having an agenda for some of the time. So you could just have fun and explore.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think coming out of the pandemic, people need to connect with the people they work with and feel like it's not just work all the time. You got to have a little fun there. Along the line of the people that you hire and the way that you structure your, I know that you're a huge champion of diversity and inclusion. Where does that passion come from, and also how much does that play in when you're trying to build a team and trying to build a brand?
This is a topic I've cared about, but not until maybe 6 or 7 years ago did I become brave enough to be a champion. And when I was in sixth grade, I was bullied. I remember telling my best friend at the time, who was looking at some magazines that were not very appropriate for audiences to look at, and I didn't want to look at them, and he asked why not, and I said I just wasn't into it, and he said, have you kissed a girl? I said no, and he, the next day in school, spread rumors, told everyone I was gay, and I went from being at the pool table at lunch to sitting by myself for over a year. And I wasn't, but the feeling of that alienating resonated with me, and it was something I always. I'm fortunate that I made through that experience, but so other people maybe need help, and but I didn't reflect upon that experience later in life. I changed high schools, and you moved on, and you don't think of these things sometimes. And then I went to IBM, and the mission was to help transform us into a storytelling brand. If you're going to be a storytelling brand, then you have to have good storytellers. And great stories are born out of people with diverse perspectives. And my team was not as diverse as I wanted to be. And I knew that mindset needed to be carried forward. And I looked around and I realized that it had, if not me, then who? And so I leaned in and brought my team to 47% diversity, which was much more than the rest of the company, and changed my team's name to IBM Originals because I wanted to make a place that was safe and welcoming for everyone in all their original whole self. And I think that is just now there's no going back. But it's sometimes you're thrust into these positions, and sometimes you're just so. This was kind of like something I actually wanted to block out that like emotionally came back to me, and now especially for the gay community, but for everyone, I try my best to be supportive of everyone's opinions and make it a great place to work.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about storytelling in marketing. How much do you think that natural diversity on your team brings a broader ability to tell those stories? Like, how much is that factoring in?
Well, I used to believe, so when I worked at an ad agency, there was a strong belief that you were a creative, you were an account person, you were a media person, and these were who you were. And often there was some like walls set up, like this person can't come in and have an idea and all that type of stuff. And I thought that was interesting. But I have to say, when you're in that type of environment, you start to believe it. And I remember my last job, when I first at IBM, they asked me to come in, assess the talent. We think that there's a lot of people here who are not creative storytellers, and figure out how to transform your team. And I paused before I took any actions. And one of my best employees was at the company for like 37 years. She was a biochem major and had no creative storytelling experience at all, and was one of the most when we surrounded her in that environment and introduced play into work, her mental sandbox expanded. So she became wonderful. Became one of my best employees in the space. So I do not subscribe to the belief anymore that this is true. And so I first look for people who are different than everyone else on my team, and try not to hire myself. I don't really. And
I wouldn't hire me either. So
no, we can't even play the piano. I mean, come on.
Total
Come on. Yeah. But yeah, so that's basically it. I mean, there's no magic formula except for I guess one thing you'll see is I try to always question my initial beliefs or feelings, because everyone brings bias to the table, and I was biased that only certain types of people could be creative and great storytellers, and that wasn't true.
To kind of shift the topic a little bit, over to some marketing theory, if you would. I know that I heard a podcast that you were on where you talked about agile transformation of marketing, and I was interested to hear how you adopted that and how you put that into practice, on a daily basis with your teams and your marketing messages.
That's a great question. So Agile, first of all, what is not Agile is speed only. I think if you go fast without a strategy, then you have to be lucky to win. You have to be lucky to end up in a place that's winning. And luck is nice.
Although it's nice to have some. But so that's design the other thing is which for marketing, marketers adopt Agile. Sometimes they it's reading part that delivers MVPs, and then MVPs are the minimum viable thing that an audience will accept. So imagine going to a restaurant and they give you the least acceptable dish every single time, right? So brand marketers that teach you is the brand, and there's a certain threshold of greatness. And so understanding how marketers get to understand who knows the brand, what is getting for, and what is that quality checklist that you should not do. And so number one, before you adopt Agile, know who you are, and what you realize is what is the standard that you're going to make sure everything gets out the door that will then enable you to have speed and testability around it. Going backwards, Agile is not just stand up to meetings. If you implement the process first, I'm pretty sure you think. What Agile is first is based upon a set of values. Without trust, respect, openness, and courage, that cultural change won't work. So, I implemented Agile one month in the past. It's really easy to have an Agile consultant come in, tell you how to operate Agile, set up your process workshops, roll it out, and take it away. And then you really do well back and you wonder why everything got very happy. The other way to do it is to make sure that your team feels safe enough to do this. Right? That's what it is. And that you're actually funding your new strategy. If you don't fund the B version, then you only have A of the text. But if you don't have people, if you don't have your key willing to sacrifice some performance while the A or B, knowing that the long term will fail. Also, want to organization mind because they are. I'd say that the biggest benefit I put my team through improv training. We talked about class a couple times and try to get them there's like on stage, you're improv all the time. You get a last 5 so I think that first of that shared experiences of improv, shared beliefs together, and then that supporting each other and the brain for forward is able to build that cultural process. That's it. It's having a cultural change, then implementing the process, but only implement that. Sure that they're buying on budgeting to great stuff in Agile manner. Tear down the old staging process of agencies to produce things slower and build a partner on multiple partners to create and collaborate. And then you get people to that's a really important to follow up question that is besides anything. How do you foster that idea of safety, give the team the freedom to feel like their voice is heard when they can make some of these decisions they want to make? There are some safety across every field. nobody did. So it's a good question. But I think one way to do it is to celebrate the successes when the agile approach resulted in something wonderful. So I used to be at Data we launched the film. We used agile and testing learning to create the title of the film. We Facebook platforms multiple posters. We're using different versions and agile to create the trailer. And to live was very successful. The bring up New York Times, so it's really what works. The team was respected and honored because they had to fail 100 times on the testing process to get to the win. And I think too much in our corporate America, we spend so much time in the retrospective talking about how we can do something better. Not enough time celebrating wins. So I try to make room for the celebration. And I try to make things in that respect. And they have fun. It's a birthday circle, right? But that's kind of my concern. I know we're getting short on time, so one other question that I know my team is with all the data that's out there, so that in contact with these days, activated to gather the data and use it in marketing. How do you push the teams to use that data for personalization, the storytelling, and the consumers? Well, I'm happier here because I learned data, as do I. And you build the heart to enable people to use data, which is great. It's just so awesome. I don't believe data is going to replace data, machine learning, and the first stage is how do you create the marketer to do more of the higher value things. And because these will get to all the personalization, but personalization takes more work than the marketing. So one of the things that we can use data and automation and AI to streamline. It's not going to take more marketing. But I think one of the reasons why data still is digital itself about here's the beautiful transition. So one of the things we did in my team, people making stuff all around the world. Sometimes they make the same thing twice, but they don't know what to do it. Sometimes they reinvent them. You ever work in an agency and you feel like you're the same thing over again, right? So how do you use AI data and decision into well, I'm thinking about what stuff innovating on you build the human police, you did some of the police, you have people together police. Everybody is really different getting everything about once. They're going to reach saying, I'm part of this audience. They're recommending to you, oh, this audience has these insights. This audience has this job. This audience has all of these content. This audience has so it helps you give you the ability to different feelings and not see the audience. But turn the data into the audience, which the decision is to know. Then you have the discussion. Okay, for me, I love the data and make sure that it's been usually staring at it and want it to be a guide for marketers to make them step. And also help make them recommend to themselves, especially so okay. Oh, we got time for one more? Oh, we have 5 more minutes. All right. Now, good. The one thing that I wanted to ask you, honestly, in 45 days of TripAdvisor, you're not going to be in your role too much there, but when you go to a new company and a new brand, what keeps you excited? What are you looking most forward to doing with TripAdvisor, just this week? Well, when I was searching for a company, and so that's critical to me. What I like to do, I like to do different stuff, right? So, and I'm only middle child, so I like challenges. Right? Also, the team is really the flexibility to take risks. So, another like crazy story. When in my last job, I went around with all these different and to take risks. It failed. Well, these come up with a great exercise. Do something bring to show people that you can do it. So, I like playing the piano in front of a full market. Exactly. So I spent all night before practicing in the mirror for sleep. I got the posture for it, get on stage. I'm gonna go first. So we want to say first. I didn't realize things were getting pumped enough to do it. But I performed the opening song. But if you can win a piano, I think I was just gonna say, be careful what you wish for. But so you understand the performing magic. So and I did that to show them how it could be, but also like with fun. And I think I think people to you know a company like TripAdvisor. Also, so, perfect way to line. So thank you very much for doing it today. Let's start with what think about it. I thought we were going to kick off. I want to see him think. Question line. Sorry, I mean, I'm still the most piece of content is sexy, it's over here. And think about it, there's some built without any other visual identity really like prices other than reviews and posts. Right? So what review and what's the review is to be trusted. Right? So the review is powerful. We don't really use what exactly is there is a really influencers and is excites me is that there's been a great show this Sunday on Bread. It's getting people are really probably not. There's not a lot that type of content that's inspired to work. It's original people. And so, what inspires me is to watch something like experience life. It's not about the destinations, it's about the experience. And then there's been moments you know that's continued. So, I'm just excited about focusing on that. The feeling and connection and experience, not only the booking part of it. I mean, that's when we connect to students. That's what I'm here. So let's connect. Let's connect.